Shalom, my dear friends, and welcome to Parashat with Mr. Liam. You want to say hello? Parashat of Shemot begins with formation of Bnei Israel as a nation. And who's at the center of this formation that brings us out of Egypt and change the world is none but Moshe. It's a very amazing personality. You know, when you go to U.S. Congress, in as much as there's a separation of church and state, right in front of you on the top is a picture of Moshe. It's really fascinating. This is on the top of where the president and the Speaker of the House sit. So who is this Moshe? Just to see what the effects of Moshe has been on humanity, consider the fact that 1.9 billion people, they call themselves Christians. And their book is Torah plus 4 small books of 4 reporters they added to that. Old Testament is the Torah. The New Testament is the 4 books that 4 reporters, they called it that. It's called the New Testament. And what does the book of Christian book of New Testament begin with? It begins by saying that Jesus saying, I have not come to distract or to change Torah at all. And it goes on to say, anyone who changes 1 comma from Torah will be the lowest in the kingdom of the heaven. So this is one effect of Torah. Another effect is that 1.6 billion people in the world are Muslims. And the Quran, their book, begins by saying that Hashem loved and chose people to give Torah to them. And Quran is the same, is the extension of Torah for the rest of the humanity. And much of Quran is based on Torah. That's another 1.6 billion people. About 1800 years ago, they wanted to bring the light of Torah to the East. And they wrote a book, Bhagavad Gita. And in this book brings the light of Torah into the East, which is actually even in Parashat, the death of Abraham. We read that Abraham sent his children to the East to spread his word of wisdom. So the book of Bhagavad Gita, which was written 1800 years ago and is a fundamental of all the Eastern philosophies, has 18 chapters because 18 is 1 and 8 Chai. They wanted to bring the light of Torah. And the name of God in this book is breath. How did they get the breath to be the name of the God? Because at the beginning of the book of Parashat, it says, breath of Hashem was hovering over the earth. So the breath, they said, it's breath. Every moment that sustains us is Hashem, the God. And so 18 chapters, they wrote it. And then Tao, he wanted to do the same thing in China. And because 18 was taken and he wanted to use 1 and 8, 1 is Hashem, 8 is endless spirituality. So his book of Taoism has 81 chapters. And so you see much of the other part of the world is also affected and comes from Torah, which is really fascinating. And even those people that they say, I don't believe in God, they already acknowledging the God that Moshe has brought in Torah, but they say, I don't believe in it, which is form of acknowledging that there is God, but I don't believe in it. Very, very interesting. So really, one way or the other, Moshe has touched the entire universe. So the question begs, who is this Moshe? And what can we learn from this fascinating personality? You know that the book of Shemot says 3 times, 3 incidents it brings, and it defines the Moshe's personality in this three incident. The word Torah means the way, and every time that I talk to you, my intention is to bring the way of life, the way that a human being can be a better person, come to his essence, come to be picture of the Creator, is what Torah is all about. So in the next few minutes, I'd like to just focus on how we can access through Moshe to our inner being and to see how we can learn to grow. So the the story of Moshe is that he's Jewish, but his mother and sister want to hide him. They put him in the Nile River. Paro's daughter find Moshe and adopt Moshe as her son, and Moshe grows up in the palace as prince of the Egypt. So later on, Moshe finds out that he's really not Egyptian, but he's Hebrew. Now, have this in mind that now we see an amazing story that a person in one hand is a prince of Egypt, on the other hand, he is the slave that Egyptian are enslaved, and they are the worst slavery in the world. Imagine for a minute that you are Moshe, this conflict inside of you. Am I an Egyptian or am I a Hebrew? And these two always conflict with each other. And what does Torah say? The first thing it says is Moshe grew up and went out, and he saw a fight between the Hebrew and Egyptian, and he saw that the Egyptian is hitting the Hebrew. This is the fight inside him. He sees that Egyptian inside of him beating on the Hebrew inside. He says, forget about the Hebrew. Be the prince of Egypt and go enjoy your life. Why do you want to mess around to be a slave? And then he says, Moshe looked at his right and there was no man. He looked at his left and he saw there was no man. And at that moment, when you see that you're nobody, what do? Torah says Moshe killed the Egyptian and buried under the sand. And Moshe frees himself from ambiguity to clarity. And from this point on, he stands to be a Moshe. And then, because as a Hebrew, he cannot see this suffering of his people with the things that happens, he runs away from Egypt. And what's the second thing that Torah says about Moshe? He sees that there are few women, they're trying to draw water to give to their ships, and then there are men who's harassing them and they're not letting them to do that. And Moshe goes to fight with a few men and pushes them away and allows the woman to get the water. So in the first incident, Moshe stands for finding himself, and the second incident, Moshe stands for what is right. He had no business to go fight with this man that they could have killed him, but he stands and he fights for what is wrong and allows the woman to give water to the sheep. And the third incident, that another amazing personality about Moshe that we see is that it says he saw the burning bush and he turned. You know, there's a lot of burning bush in our city, unfortunately. Everywhere is burning. But which of us stop to say, why is this burning? And what's the reason? What's the message behind all these bushes which are burned in our city? And Moshe stopped. And Rambam says, this burning bush was always there, but other people saw that passed away, and they did not stop. But Moshe stopped, he looked at it, and he wondered. Wondering is an amazing personality of Moshe, and this is something that we all need to be inspired to find out who truly we are, and release and make ourselves to be free as who we are, stand for what is right, and wonder about this life and the messages that constantly come to us. And this way we can live a life like Moshe. Shabbat Shalom.